Nobody knows what's going to happen. Why are we even debating this? Nobody has any idea.
That's not true.
What the end game for this is.
The market doesn't have tits, so he's unsure of his position. Well, think about it like this. It's like the market forcibly got their titties reduced in size by Donald Trump. And what's crazier about it is that Donald Trump wanted to make bigger titties. He said, I'm doing this to make the market's titties bigger. Okay. But what ended up happening is a reduction in tit size and no ass. And he seemingly just made the video games way gayer and with no titties. It's messed up.
I don't care about your fake and gay stock market collapsing, boomers. You locked me in a decaying comedy block apartment over the flu and cost me my job. I'm nearly 40 in the worst job market ever in a century. Because of your greed and selfishness, I voted for this. I'm 24 and I don't care about 401ks. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Remember what I told you guys the other day about how with the Trump tariffs, people weren't going to care because they don't have stocks and they think it's bullshit. And everybody said there's no way they're going to be thinking this. There's no way they're going to.
Does Asmongold not realize that there are more people out there than the couple tweets that he saw? Does Asmongold think that this is only impacting their stock prices? Oh my God. Like the stocks are just reacting to the uncertainty of what is to come. This is going to have the reason why the stock market is reacting the way that it is because of the speculation that tariffs are going to lead to price increases. Price increases, massive inflation is going to lead to negative real wage growth. It is going to diminish purchasing power. People are going to start trying to save as much money as possible or not be able to purchase things that they would normally purchase. They're going to start consuming less. And when they start consuming less, companies are going to make less money. When companies make less money, they're going to engage in layoffs. And this downward trend, this downward spiral will repeat itself in perpetuity. The more people get laid off, the less purchasing power the American labor force has overall, which would lead to a recession and then a depression. A great one. The greatest depression of all time. Believe it, folks. Believe me. So it's not just about stock prices, even though for a lot of wealthy people, like that's the only way that they analyze what's going on. Yeah, they're losing the fake money. They're losing the fake money, sure, but it's not about the stock. It's not about the value being wiped out from the stock market that is impactful. I don't give a fuck about that. Many people don't give a fuck about that. What matters is what is yet to come.
Fuck your 401ks. I want my country back. And so you're having way more people saying this because the big problem is that I think that whenever you have like a global economy and you're competing against like, let's say people from India that are willing to do the job for like 1/10 the amount of money that you're willing to do it at, or 50% or 80%, even something less extreme. Is this good for the country that is providing a platform for this to happen for?
Dude, I've never experienced such a unique moment where I literally agree with the principle. I agree with the principle. Yes, this is the problem with free trade. Yes, you get it. That's great. I'm glad you get this issue. Okay. This is a major hurdle that we've cleared. But when you don't have a robust, competitive manufacturing base that was set up prior to these actions, then you just did trade protectionism for manufacturing that doesn't exist. What the fuck? As I said before, it's like you want to build a shed, and a part of that is using a hammer and a saw and screws and nails, right? Trump did not go and grab the materials necessary. He didn't get the wood necessary to build the shed. There's a shed that exists already. Instead of improving the shed, he just broke it. Yeah, breaking parts of the shed is a necessity for the improvement, but you didn't get the materials. You didn't get the rest of the materials to rebuild it. Now all you've done is just break the shed, bro. Have you ever used a power tool? I have.
And in general, I think the answer to that is no. And what's a 401k? Yeah, exactly, right? And I think this is what's happening to a lot of these people, is that people see society and they see, you know what it's like? I don't really like using a lot of like movie comparisons because it's like it's a movie, but like it's like the end of Fight Club, right? Where like all the banks get destroyed and all the debt is wiped out, all the credit's wiped out, everything's wiped out. The idea that, and why was that so popular among young men? Even then it was. The reason why is that I think that there is a prevailing idea that young men have, that they are born into a rigged system that's actively working against them. And when they see things like, you know, scholarship opportunities for people who have an identity that's different than theirs, like being women or something like that, they kind of are. Well, that's not the point, right? The point is, see, like, it doesn't matter what people, it doesn't matter what's true. It matters what people think is true. And so this is what people think is true. And so, yeah, globalists hate us. Exactly.
I hate that he says the quiet part out loud so much. He's like, narrative is more important than the truth. Also, yeah, bro did not watch Fight Club, or if he did not understand the point. Who takes advice from this guy? Tens of thousands of people. He commands the attention of 50,000 of the sweatiest dudes you've ever met, your coworkers. He absolutely is like, he is the Joe Rogan, or fills the Joe Rogan void. He fills the Joe Rogan void of like guys who are too nerdy for BJJ, and cops, apparently. Coworkers and cops. Anyway, this is a ridiculous way to approach the subject matter. There's a lot that he's just like not addressing, and I don't know if it's because he doesn't know the impact that these terrorists will have. But what's always frustrating is hearing about these guys talk about rebuilding American manufacturing, something that I have spent so much time on, something that I've advocated for my whole professional career, something that I very clearly put my money where my mouth is on as well. And it's like, I work with these labor unions. I work with American manufacturers. I work with unionized American manufacturers. And what is so frustrating about this is that Trump is not doing that. Trump is not doing the stuff that you have to do to be able to even entertain the notion of tariffs. That's what's frustrating about it. And without doing the groundwork, without actually building the manufacturing hub that America is supposed to be, all you're doing is just instituting a broad sales tax on the working poor.
And so this is the reason why you see so much support for the Trump tariffs.
Like trade protectionism, there's no support for the Trump tariffs. He's also wrong. He's in a hug box where he thinks that there's like broad support for the Trump tariffs. There's no broad support for the Trump tariffs. There's not even broad support from the Republican Party for the Trump tariffs. They are kind of terrified of Donald Trump, so they don't want to speak out of turn. But even then, they're still like kind of going, Mr. President, what are you doing? You really f***ed us up here. Please, Mr. President, don't kill us. What are you doing? Trade protectionism works if there's something to protect. Trade protectionism without actual trade on the domestic front is nothing. It's just a broad sales tax that you implemented. It is interesting seeing him have the same confidence when describing these issues, though, as he does like when he's talking about, like, I don't know, transmont competitions or whatever. And that is probably a part of where this appeal comes from, where people want to hear from someone who is confident, and it makes them feel good, like he knows what he's talking about. And I think in that process, especially because it's directionally along the Trump regime, people are desperate, kind of like how liberals would go to I don't know, like a David Pacman in the Kamala Harris campaign, to hear things about how good it actually was, how good the campaign was. I think that is what he's doing. That's the role he's playing for a lot of Republicans. The role I think Asmongold's playing right now is person that will confirm the biases that you have, a person that will tell you like, no, Trump is actually based. He's doing this for good reason, and everyone likes it, actually. And it leads people to entertain these delusions. It leads people down this very weird path where they're so biased that they can't see the world outside of their own implicit biases. And it's ironic because people say that about me all the time, but I spend a good deal of my commentary looking directly at what the right wing is saying, and also have an antagonistic relationship with the liberal side of politics as well. So there's never really an opportunity for me to confirm biases that I might have, because they're never demonstrated by any party in the administration. So that's why it's frustrating when people engage in that kind of projection, but it's doubly frustrating when I see it happening in real time. What he's doing is basically telling, like, as a yes man for the admin, he's basically telling people who are desperate to hear something positive from any outlet that they can get, something positive about Trump's tariffs.
Because people look at, you know, for example, like if you look at the stock market, let me just pull it up. It's the first graph I can find, right? And so anyway, if you zoom in, let me go back. We'll do like right here. So this is in the last year. So a lot of the gains that happened in the stock market, especially after like in 2020 here, a lot of these gains were amounts of money that were gained inside of the top 1% of the population.
Oh my God, he's right. Oh my God. How is he right, but also so wrong at the same time? It's like I'm losing my mind, because Trump is doing left populism in his speech, but not with actual policy. So if you're pro-Trump unconditionally,
You're going to engage in that left populism. Maybe that even actually works for you. But the problem here is not what Trump is saying. The problem here is what Trump is doing without examining the actual market, without examining the actual material conditions.
And I think what you're going to see here, and this is what the tariffs are showing you, is that we are going to have a convergence of people who are, basically extremely nationalistic, and they want the country to act in their best interest and not in the best interest of like some.
You can't say the stock market is immaterial and then turn around and say it's going to rebound and it's going to be good because people are nationalistic and they want manufacturing. You can't have people wish a factory. Okay. If that was the case, I would have used my mind power to just beam Detroit back to its glory days overnight. I'd be like, oh, I'm thinking Pittsburgh. Okay, steel industry, it's back. Oh, boom. All of a sudden, factories everywhere. Like, that's not how it works. You need to build it, man. Like, it's just funny because what are they doing? The secret. They're just going to manifest factories all around the country. No, that takes time. There's also training that needs to take place so that you can have the properly trained labor force to be able to work in those assembly lines. Oh my God. You need to train people to even build the factories too. Jesus Christ. I don't understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is we do not have the manufacturing base as it stands currently, and the time that it would take to rebuild an even competitive manufacturing base in this country would be at least a decade if, and that's a big if, we got our together.
Let's continue.
Global, international company. And you're going to see that happen. And you're going to see a convergence of that with like extreme left, economic policy. And we're already seeing this happening. And so this is the reason why they don't care about the stock market. It's because the stock market represents a bunch of rich people that control everything, who these people look at.
Dog, the stock market is irrelevant in this conversation. I mean, it sucks for boomers. It sucks for working class people who are losing their 401ks. But the stock market is negligible in comparison to what is yet to come. Massive price increases, a cost of affordability crisis, a cost of living crisis, paired up with a recession and mass layoffs that spiral completely out of control. Yeah, Trump demands are like trying to build on quicksand. Exactly.
So why the would a young guy who doesn't have any stocks and they feel like this is like if you're a young man, it's hard for you to get a job. There are, systematic ways that you're disenfranchised or denied opportunities. And on like the culture, it seems like it's okay to make fun of young men and other things that are similar to that. No stocks come exactly. They want revenge. Yes, exactly. Rust Belt revenge. That's exactly it. And so this is the reason why you see so many people supporting the Trump tariffs. And this is the part that a lot of people won't say out loud.
Dog, there is the amount of support for the Trump tariffs is minimal. Even from the people who support Trump, there is an understandable anxiety coming from them because they're scared about the cost of living going up crazy style in the short term. It's not about the stocks. I don't know why he's hyper focusing on the stocks. I guess it's about the stocks because the Republicans only care about it. I don't know. The stocks are the initial indication that things are falling apart. As I've said over and over again, the gains in the stock market are privatized, but the losses are socialized. So when the stock market is doing well, you're not really going to experience that. You're going to get maybe a crumb in your 401k. But when the stock market plummets, you will experience the impact because you're going to get fired.
And tariffs happen like this caused the Great Depression. You're right, though. Yeah, but I don't think that these people are already in the Great Depression in their mind. They're already in the Great Depression. They've been in the Great Depression. These are people that have like crushing student aid debt. They have, no real sense of like upward mobility in the society or anything like that. And so they're like, okay, you want to have a great recession or whatever? That's fine. And I think that really it is a nuclear option. It is an extreme nuclear option.
Dude, he is so close. How are you so close to understanding everything that's going on? There's going to be a turning point here for him, I suspect. Well, not for him, because he gets his notes from his fans. He gets his notes from his subreddit and also from his chat. But like his chat is eventually going to go, dude, what the Eggs are like $25.
But I think that a lot of young men are more than willing to take it. And that's why if you look at all of these posts and people, almost every single person who's posting positively about the tariffs is a young man. Have you noticed that? Because I've been reading about this a lot. I've been reading about it, trying to figure out like what the f is going on here. No careers, only entry-level crap. Exactly. And so, yeah, they're Trump cultists. No, it's beyond that. It's beyond that. Basically,
it's not beyond that. Those guys have a higher likelihood of being a Trump cultist. No, they are Trump cultists. And he's right about recognizing the resentment that a lot of these people feel towards the wealthy, towards the stock market, towards the elites that have destroyed their futures. That all is real. That is true. He's nailing it. The problem is Trump is not the solution to this. Trump is, as I've said a million times over, expertly capitalizing on that resentment and carrying himself to victory over that resentment, while simultaneously redirecting that anger back to vulnerable populations that didn't do any of this shit. Oh.
I think that it's massively destabilizing. I know people, I've had friends of mine contact me and they've said like, yeah, bro, like our company is like way worse. Like we have this massive issue. We're thinking about doing layoffs, right? So like I've had people tell me like that they're really bad. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Do you think he'll revert it? I think that he'll leverage the tariffs in order to get certain negotiation concessions from different countries. That's what I think will happen. Will the tariffs be, will the tariffs in their current form exist in the long term? I do not think the answer to that is yes. I don't think that in, 6 months from now, we're going to be looking at the exact same tariffs. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. They're already negotiating? Yeah, of course they are. Because it would be bad for them too. It's bad.
Dude, there is no... I mean, there are substantive aspects of his commentary when at least he like recognizes the resentment that like young white men especially feel due to their material conditions. But as far as like how these tariffs are applied, what the actual impact of these tariffs are beyond the immediate market volatility, none of that. 15 minutes, not a single mention of like what happens when tariffs are instituted. Why are these tariffs instituted? Like what mathematical calculation has the Trump administration erroneously placed ahead of us and to suggest that these other countries are f***ing us over? It doesn't make any sense. The fact that people are just like, no, this is brilliant commentary means that I think people are desperate to hear from someone that they see as a position of authority that they agree with. It's kind of crazy. 15 minutes into a 24-minute video about tariffs, about what the fuck is happening, and there is no explanation for what the fuck has happened. He acknowledged that this is the only the beginning. No, from the perspective of the anger that people feel, not about what these tariffs are going to do. Especially because if he comes to the conversation with a recognition of what, like, why these tariffs are being implemented, he can have a position on whether or not it is appropriate to implement these tariffs. Does he have a position on trade protectionism versus free trade? None of that has been discussed in this conversation so far. He actually said he doesn't know when asked about it directly. That's what's so shocking to me about this commentary, especially considering that it got 800,000 views. Like, I'm thinking about it as a political commentator myself, and I feel like even Ben Shapiro at least has like a coherent worldview on this matter, and he's not simply just shooting from the hip. You know what I mean? But I guess that in and of itself is also interesting and instructive, because that means that the market has a demand for this kind of commentary over trying to make sense of what is going down, what is happening, what will potentially happen in the future.
And this is like, again, Trump negotiates, and this is the way that a lot of people that are very good negotiators, they walk the razor's edge of being a great negotiator by being
like the tariffs are not implemented here. I'll address it directly, even though I've done a video on this already. You can go watch it if you're confused about the tariff stuff. One, Donald Trump put forth completely ridiculous tariffs that he claimed foreign countries are placing upon the United States of America. And their calculation was not actually real trade barriers, even though they implied that that was the calculation they were conducting. And maybe even like VAT, for example, value added tax or whatever, which wouldn't be a tariff. It would be just a broad tax on all value added like a sales tax. But instead, he actually didn't even do that. He just simply looked at the trade deficit and made up the calculation off of that. If his purpose is to reduce the trade deficit, countries that actually sell a lot more to us than we sell to them, if his goal is to reduce the trade deficit, there's a lot of things that Trump needs to do before engaging in a tariff war. He needs to build an industrial base so that we can actually increase our output. Trump has not done that. Trump simply broke the structure in its entirety and basically created a mass sales tax to the tune of 20 to 30% potentially across the board. This will have severe consequences on global trade if maintained. It will have severe consequences on the domestic economy as well, because it will create massive inflation almost overnight. And in that process, demand will go down because people don't have purchasing power. And when demand goes down, companies will have to shutter their businesses. Layoffs will happen and the economy will spiral out of control. These are the reasons why, while I am in favor of trade protectionist policies, Trump's tariff regime is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. He's putting the cart before the horse. And there isn't really even a horse, just a cart. And the cart is not even really a cart. He just broke the cart. He's doing everything wrong. This is precisely the reason why I'm confused as to what he's saying, because he talks about the resentment that people feel and how it's like breaking the economy, and then even compares them to ISIS or Hamas, which are not similar to one another with the exception of being Muslim, I guess. Their motivations are totally different. But he also must understand that these tariffs are not great for the American economy in general beyond the stock market collapse, because otherwise he wouldn't say that these guys supporting it are extremists. But he's not saying that at all. He's not describing why these decisions are bad or even good, as a matter of fact.
Extremely what's the word, just like not callous, but just not even giving a fuck, right? They aggressive, unpredictable, yes, exactly. Harsh, abrasive, well, yeah, it's completely unpredictable. And that there's no degree of self-preservation with them. And if you're negotiating with a person that has no perception of self-preservation, it's very, very scary.
Like what is the negotiation? What is the outcome of these negotiations? Because if the outcome is, like, for example, for Vietnam to lower its tariffs, Vietnam had a 5% tariff on American goods. Okay, they lower it to 0%. They said they would do that. Trump claims that Vietnam has a 90% tariff on US goods. Not 5%. He says it's 90%. So what is the negotiation here? Is the negotiation that Vietnam has to purchase more American goods to make up for the trade deficit that we have with them? If that's the case, who's making these goods? What are these goods that Vietnam is supposed to purchase? Does Vietnam have the money to purchase these goods? Do they have the purchasing power to buy American products? They don't. The answer is no. And it's not like we have a robust system in place to begin with to give them any of these goods.
Why, like, nobody knows what's going to happen. Why are we even debating this? Nobody has any idea.
That's not true.
What the end game for this is. So
I mean, there's a little bit of truth of what is predictably going to happen, which is Donald Trump, as it stands currently, no matter how unstable he is, if you listen to what he's saying, if you actually think about what he just did, you will understand that it's a mass sales tax and prices are going to increase. That's a given. That's a certainty. That would already happen even if there was a competent manufacturing base here in the United States of America, by the way.
So yeah, I mean, these are blanket tariffs. It's very different. Well, I'm saying, like, nobody knows. That's my point. Trump bootlickers are nihilists and Joker style, watch it burn, not a serious people. Well, and this is a really good point that you're bringing up here, is that tariff bootlickers are nihilists and Joker style, the watch it all burn, not serious people. Well, they don't need to be serious to cause serious damage, do they? And the Joker blew up a bunch of buildings. So do you want to have somebody like that in your city? Nope, you don't. And so that's the way it is. But no, and he's right. Like, that's absolutely it. But here's the thing, is that when you feel like you've grown up in a circus, you turn into the Joker. What a surprise. And this is the reason why, again, a lot of the people that are supporting these tariffs are young people, especially young men. The stock market's crashing. Yeah, and they don't give a fuck about that. It's fake money anyway. That's the reason. Okay, bozo. No. See, you might not understand. This is what I was saying before. Again, Do you see how all this fits together about how like they need to like bring back some form of like neo?
Watching Asmongold's commentary has left me more confused than I was prior about what it is that he's actually doing here. He just reacts to like how people are reacting to seemingly market conditions. Like there's not really a lot of analysis beyond people are angry and repeating that over and over again and with different words. Maybe I'm missing something and you guys are, or all these other people are tuning into this frequency and I'm just missing it. I'm being super serious. Or maybe he considers this to be like a managed pivot, you know?
Because like you're going to have so many of these people that inside of a democratic system, they will outvote you and cause problems. I just like, I don't think people understand what's coming. They really don't. Why would we give a fuck about that old rich fucks that are losing money? Exactly. And these are people, and you know who really cares?
Dude, in this conversation, he doesn't even reveal what his position is. You know what's funny about all this is like people get really mad at me because I have firmly held convictions and I'm not afraid of telling you exactly what I believe. You can make up your mind after you hear what I have to say, but I'm not going to shelter you from my perspective. A person, a commentator, or anyone who says that they're doing common sense doesn't matter. If they're talking about politics, and they don't tell you with clarity what their perspective is, they're lying to you. The market doesn't have tits, so he's unsure of his position. Well, think about it like this. It's like the market forcibly got their titties reduced in size by Donald Trump. And what's crazier about it is that Donald Trump wanted to make bigger titties. He said, I'm doing this to make the market's titties bigger. Okay? As a matter of fact, I'm also bringing ass back into the market. That's what Donald Trump said. Like, if the market is a video game, Donald Trump basically said, I'm going to give this market bigger titties and a bigger ass, okay? Areolas, you're going to see it, milky. But what ended up happening is a reduction in tit size and no ass because the fundamentals were never there. And he seemingly just made the video games way gayer and with no titties. It's messed up. As with a pretty box standard postmodern conservative who doesn't even know what he believes until he sees how people are reacting to it, this video explains it well. I don't even think he's a conservative. I think he is LARPing as a Trump supporter, but he's doing it in a way where he couches all of his assessment in common sense and doesn't assume a position unless he recognizes that there is deep popularity for it, such as deportations. So much so that he'll say things that are truly inhumane about, like, you know, joining an ICE deportation raid and presenting himself as like Ash Ketchum. But beyond that, like in this period of uncertainty, he's just trying to read the tea leaves and he recognizes that there's a lot of people who resent the tariffs. So he's just simply talking about why people like it without ever telling you why he likes it. He's not telling you he likes it. He's not telling you he doesn't like it either. He's simply telling you why some people like it and some people don't like it.
Cares a lot about stocks. Two groups of people care a lot about stocks. Number one is, obviously rich people, and number two is old people. And now you have a system where basically boomers are getting absolutely f***ed by this system. They're happy. I think that many people really don't understand how popular revenge is. And that's it. Let's remove the boomers. Well, this will remove boomers. When they run out of money and they die because they can't afford healthcare, this is a boomer remover. It will be. Now, it might take a couple of years if the stock market keeps going down, but it will kill them. Now, it doesn't kill them directly, right? But it will do it in...
I'm predicting it right now. Asmongold is going to come out against the tariffs in a week when the market continues to plummet and people keep talking about how the cost of goods are going to skyrocket. And then his fan base starts recognizing that it's not all too hot. It's not looking too hot. And at which point he will swap over and he'll basically say something along the lines of like, yeah, well, they fucked it up. Yeah, not based. Because he's hedging. But because it's seemingly he doesn't have a fully established position here. Bro, of course he's against tariffs. It'll destroy Starforge PCs. Does he still own? I mean, I guess he still owns Starforge PCs. But he's not talking like a guy who hates tariffs right now. He's talking like a guy who is understanding of why a lot of people are resentful towards the stock market crashing without actually talking about the real impact these tariffs are going to have, specifically on the cost of goods.